So on today's podcast, we have Jason Bentz from Bentz Woodworking. Make sure you check him out on his YouTube, on his Instagram. We'll have the links down below. Jason Bent just hit 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. He's a great resource if you're trying to learn how to dive deeper into woodworking. Make sure that you check him out. It's a long podcast compared to our other ones, but we dive into woodworking, the business side of a lot of the social media stuff. And Jason's just a great guy to talk to, has a ton of knowledge about how this woodworking and Instagram and social media space works. So we had a really fun podcast, and we do finally get to some barbecue talk at the end. So make sure you check that out. Stay tuned for that. So let's get into the podcast.
So Jason, are you finally settled in? Do you feel settled in your shop now?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I feel like you got the groove going now.
Yeah. It's nice there's a couple little slight modifications that I might make, but for the most part, it's nice. I've got it laid out kind of the way I want. Now in December though, I got a different joiner planer combo coming. So that'll slightly change things, but it's just a slightly larger footprint than the one that's in there now, but not that much. I already planned for it. So, but for the most part, no, I love it. Way more than my last shop. Huh?
What brand of the joiner planer are you getting?
I have the hammer now. I'm getting the hammer A341, which is the 16-inch joiner planer combo, but Hammer sent me, it was supposed to be like August, and then COVID happened and all this other stuff. And we had been talking forever. And then it was like, hey, we're not going to be able to get you one until December. And I'm like, that's going to be a huge problem. And they were unbelievably supportive and helpful. And they're like, look, we will send you one of our A326s for you to use until we can get you the A341. And I was like, oh, okay. And that's their 10-inch model.
Deal.
Yeah.
And so it's been really, really, really nice. And to be honest with you, I could, now that I have it, I could totally get away with just using the 10-inch.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's cool.
It's cool. Yeah, the other one's going to be here in December, and then they're either working on a deal where I can either do a giveaway for somebody or sell it at a much lower discounted rate to somebody in my audience that wants it. So that's going to be pretty cool. But it's a really nice machine, and I might get a new bandsaw. I don't know. We'll see.
How much bigger is your shop now than before?
My last shop was 20 by 24.
Standard garage size.
Yes. Now it was a detached building though. So I still had my garage. So I had no garage stuff in my shop. It was a detached building on my property. Nice. But now I have a 29 by 19. So it's more square footage. But I do have a very, very, very small amount of garage stuff. And I had to set it up in the event that if my wife ever parks in the garage, which more than likely isn't going to happen. Matter of fact, this week I'm getting a remote start installed for her. Just so she can warm her car up in the wintertime. But it's a bigger space, but still limited. So my shop might change a little bit after this winter. If she's like, hey, look, it wasn't that bad. I'm not going to worry about it. The shop is completely yours. Because here's the downside is that in the event that she did want to park in the garage, and I do have a climate controlled garage, if I open up that door and it's 10 degrees outside, it completely negates that climate control.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And so that could be a problem.
Where are you located? Do you guys get harsh
Indiana
winters?
now.
You guys get harsh winters?
I haven't been here for a winter yet.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
I'd say it's going to be a major change from Atlanta.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, so what I will say is that so the garage is insulated very, very well. The people that lived here before insulated it, and then I put the drywall over the insulation. And then above the garage is just open attic. There are no rooms above the garage because my house is kind of like an L shape. So the garage comes away from the house, and the garage doors open up or point towards my neighbor's house, which is awesome.
Good.
But the attic is just full of insulation. And worst case scenario, I just might add blown insulation in the attic if I ever needed to. But when I installed the mini split, the first 2 nights that I had it running, it got down into the 20s. And the first night I put it on like 73 or 74 or something like that. And I let it run all night. Came out the next morning, it was 73. And the next night I was like, let me test it, get it up to temperature, and then I'll turn it off and come out the next morning at like 8 or 9 and see what the temperature is. And it only dropped like 4 or 5 degrees.
Oh, that's not bad.
So worst case scenario, if it gets to like -10 or something like that, like a really harsh winter night or something, and it's just awful, then I would heat it through different means and then turn on the mini split to just keep it at that temperature.
Gotcha.
That's cool.
So that's
I
the
gotta
plan.
figure out something.
Call Mr. Cool.
Yeah, I probably need to, because all I got is a little 110 plug-in that I have. No, it doesn't get extremely cold for a long period of time here in Nashville, but it can. And there's times if I don't go in there and I forget to turn the heater on, it's pretty harsh down there.
Yeah.
But I was going to ask, but you said the way it's laid out is probably not that big of a deal, but going from a shop that's detached from the house to a shop that's attached, you got a little kid, so do you find it harder getting out there in the shop and stuff when they're napping and all that crap?
Not at all.
Too bad. It's been
not at all, because the way that was one of the biggest contributing factors to us getting this house. I looked at like 6 different houses when I came up here, and when we looked at this house, it was the only garage that didn't have some sort, because it's a 3-car garage, but it didn't have some sort of beam in it, because every other house had rooms above it. So there had to be some sort of supporting like metal beam inside of the garage. And then the other thing that's great about it is that the garage wall, there's only one wall that touches the house. It's right behind me. And so this is my office. On the other side of this wall right here is the laundry room. And then it's like the kitchen, our living room, and my son's room is over on this side of the house. So I can be in the shop running my table saw, my dust collector, the CNC machine. I can be running all of those things. And there's a door that leads from the garage into the laundry area. And then there's another door that separates the laundry area from the kitchen. So if those doors are closed, my wife can be sitting in the living room and I can be making all the noise in the world, and there's absolutely nothing. She can't hear anything. She has no idea that I'm doing anything out there.
No, that's nice. My garage, so my shop's my garage, and it's directly off of like my kitchen, right off my kitchen. So if I run anything, it's very loud in that. Yeah. Not that it's far enough away from my kids' room, so I never have to worry about that. But it is annoying to like. If I leave my dust collector on and I run inside for a second, it's so loud. Like I can tell. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, my wife. I apologize.
Yeah.
But yeah. So eventually when we move and get a new house and build or whatever we do, I'm gonna get a detached garage. It's just I think it's the best thing.
Honestly, that's one of the biggest, like, because there's a homeowners association in this community, which I've never had to deal with before. And that's the biggest reason I went with the Harvey dust collector in this new shop, because it's substantially quieter. And then it's actually on the furthest wall away, like closest to the road. And you can't hear anything like that inside of the house. And you can barely hear it on the outside of the garage. And what's nice, well, it's nice and it's also kind of crappy, but there's a fairly busy road that's right behind my house. And so people are driving up and down all the time. But it works to my benefit in this community because the sound of the cars driving completely masks any noise that's being emitted from my garage. So it's almost like a perfect storm. Like you can't hear anything that's going on in my shop over the noise of just anything that's going on in the neighborhood. So it kind of worked out good. But that dust collector is substantially quieter
those things are crazy
than the Jet
looking.
that I had. What's that?
Yeah, they're very different looking. Like they're square, more like boxy on the ground, right?
Yeah. When I seen one, I was like, "What the hell is that thing?"
Yeah. A buddy
that
of mine,
looks like it's about $7,000 just looking at it.
Well, a buddy of mine in Georgia, he's the one that turned me on to it. He was like, "Oh, have you ever seen the Harvey?" And I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And there was only one guy posting about it. It's that Next Level Carpentry guy on YouTube, older guy. And I was like, that looks really interesting. And then when it was time for me to move to the shop, I was looking at different dust collectors, and I was super, super concerned about the homeowners association. And because I started reading the bylaws, and I'm like, I am so screwed. And so then I started talking with them, and it made sense, and it did not disappoint. I'll tell you that.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. That's cool.
They look cool.
Are they pretty? Oh, so go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say they seem like they're making pretty good stuff. Like all of their tools look really high end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've never used any of their other stuff. I know some people that have the table saws, they really like them. I know some people that have the band saws, they really like them. And then obviously Harvey is the same company as Bridge City Tool Works, which is like, those crazy awesome hand planes that, cost $1 billion.
Yeah.
And they want, they're trying to just push their products. And I haven't heard a lot. I have nothing negative to say about the dust collector. And it is the most common message that I get on social media.
Somebody else has one too, but I can't remember who it was. They were posting about it the other day. They was like, "Oh, we finally filled it up." Apparently, it's got a pretty big bin on it or something.
No, it's actually much smaller than my last one. It's like 32 gallons. My last one was 50, but like I just emptied mine today for the second time, and emptying it is so much easier than any other machine because there's 2 bags in it. It's 32 gallons total, but like there's a larger bag. The way it works is it goes through the cyclone system, and the idea behind it is that it drops all the bigger stuff into the first bin, and then all the finer stuff goes into the second bin, and anything that does get past that then goes into the filters. And when you open it up and you look at it, you can clearly see that it's like these are the larger pieces. This is the really fine dust, and then you pleat the filter. And you can open up the little thing on the side and clean it out. And it's like super, super fine dust. So it's just way easier to change the bag out. Because before it's like you're struggling. If you ever changed a 55-gallon, dust collection bin, you're like struggling to get that thing out.
Right.
Yeah.
And you just don't have that problem with this. It's like you just pull the bag out. I even take it and I just dump it in the trash. I put the bag back in and take the other bag out that's even smaller and dump that in the trash, and it's good to go.
I never really thought about that with dust collection, but it's probably better to have smaller bags, even though you have to do it more, so you don't have to struggle with something big like you're saying.
It just depends on what you're doing. Like if you're in like a mass production shop where you're milling lumber, somebody is milling lumber all day long, it would probably get really annoying really quick.
Oh yeah.
But if you're like me, I build whatever I want, and it's maybe once every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, depending on the schedule. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Even
I don't know how
once a
big
week
the bags, I don't know how big the bags are at the one at the shop, but we have a huge Grizzly. It's a 10-horse motor in the middle, and it's got 4 bags and 4 filter bags. And they're like, they touch the ground, and they're probably up 5 feet off the ground, and I don't even know, 24 inches around. Yeah. And there's 4 of those. But,
how often do you guys dump them?
Well, it's only hooked to the wide belt right now, but it will be. We're going to get I don't know. We're trying to decide on a 16 or a 24-inch joiner because we have a 24-inch planer. And then he ordered a bandsaw, and we're ordering a saw stop if they ever come back into stock because we want the 5-horse for 460 or 480 or whatever that voltage is, because that's what powers over there. So it'll get filled up a lot quicker than it is right now, for sure.
That's overkill. 10 horsepower for a wide belt.
I was about to say that
seems crazy.
It's a 52-inch
like
wide belt.
You empty it once a year.
No, all 4 bags have probably like a third full, and it's only been hooked up for 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks. Yeah, we run a lot through it. Not a lot, but we run quite a bit.
Where do y'all dump your dust? Like, where do you take it? Because I don't know. I put mine in a wheelbarrow and I take it out to a wood lawn behind my house and dump it. And I was sitting there and it was dark as could be the other night. And I was looking over. I was like, what is that white glowing thing in the wood lawn? And I started looking and I was like, oh, that's just that giant pile of dust I've been piling up there for years.
That's hilarious.
You might. Have you ever asked like any of your neighbors or anything if they're into like gardening?
Mm-hmm.
Find out if they are, because when I was still at North Georgia doing the ROTC thing, one of the guys I worked with was like an avid gardener. And as soon as he heard I was a woodworker, the first question he asked me was, what do you do with all your dust? Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, I just throw it away. And he's like, please don't do that. Give it to me. And so he uses it for his garden and stuff.
Yeah, they
really?
use it in compost.
Oh yeah, they will. Yeah. They will. If you find somebody that gardens, they'll take every little bit of it.
Mm-hmm. Huh. That's good to know.
Because they can use it for mulch or compost or whatever.
Yeah.
I started getting into that a little bit, and then I was like, this is too many hobbies at once.
And when I told him, when I told him I typically use walnut for most of my stuff, that was even more exciting for him because apparently walnut sawdust like does a really, really good job of like keeping bugs and everything away. So
Nice.
he was all for it.
Obviously, it's the superior wood of all woodworking. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Just
Obvious.
ask Keith Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just picked up walnut actually Monday, like a week ago. And it's crazy the price difference between, at least where I buy mine, between how they determine rustic versus prime. Basically doubles the price of what they charge. So I bought a bunch of walnut and it was only like $160. It was almost, where I go, it was only $4 a board foot
Wow.
for rustic. And then for prime, it was 11 or 10, something like that.
what do you
that's more
consider?
normal.
What is considered rustic?
Oh, it looks great. It's like a few knots in the, and I was like, I'll epoxy them. We're good. Like it's not a big deal to me. And so I'm making a desktop, and I'm excited because I didn't know it was going to be that much big of a difference. I went in going like assuming when I talked to my client and everything, I was like, going to be around $10 a board foot is what I got material wise for walnut. And I went down there and I was like, okay, I'm looking for 4/4 walnut. And he's like, okay, you looking for prime or rustic? And I was like, what's the price difference? He's like, a lot. I was like, okay, well, let's just go with rustic. And then afterwards, when I paid, it was $160, and it got like, I don't know how much, the 40 things of 40 board feet, 30 something board feet. I don't know. I can't remember exactly, but
That's not even an option at my hardwood dealer.
Oh, really?
Well,
They're
rustic
just like-
is probably it's probably, they're giving it the term rustic, but it's probably what would be classified as like number 1 or number 2 common.
Yeah,
Right.
that's kind of what I was thinking too, Jason. Yeah, because I've never heard the term rustic before when it comes to that kind of stuff. So, but I was thinking that on the same kind of.
Yeah. So rustic and prime are the two classifications. Well, they have rustic, standard, and prime. So I assume that's just how they classify them. But the freaking rustic is gorgeous still. Even the guy was like, I wouldn't pay for prime. He's like, and I got it, and I was like, this looks fantastic. I'm going to make my desk out of it because it's so much cheaper than what I thought it was going to be, at least.
Right.
Yeah.
Where I go, they have rustic hickory, but that's about it. And they have
really?
like knotty alder, which is like obviously alder with a bunch of knots and holes in it.
Yeah.
But even that is about the same,
milling
about
it, Jason?
half.
Or Jesse, are you milling it?
Yeah, it's rough lumber. And so so all I have to do for this project, I don't know, I can't remember if we talked about it last time. So the next project is just building a desktop, 4/4 inch desktop for a desk of a friend. And he has one of those desks that go from sitting to standing.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they love whatever. So he needs a specific size tabletop, but he wanted to look nice. And so that's all I'm doing. So it should be really simple. Really, it's just milling it out, joining it up, gluing it up, and giving it a nice edge. So just, routing a nice trim on it, and then that's it, and finishing it. So
Those must
should
be
be
selling
pretty
a
simple.
lot because I've had like 5 people message me that have seen like my desktop YouTube video and asking me if I could make a top for those. So
Yeah,
they
a lot
must
of people
sell,
like
like
them.
kits like that without tops.
They do. Yeah, you can just buy the desk frame,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what
It's
he
funny,
did.
right before this started, I was actually looking because when we moved in here, I needed something to put my computer and stuff on before my shop was set up. So I bought like a, cheap particle board, cam lock, stuff from like Office Max, but I'm going to be redoing everything. And I haven't decided yet whether or not I want to do those because you can get the uplift base and then you just make your own top for it. A lot of social media people were actually doing that. They were like getting the bases and like making their own tops and in exchange for the base. Or if I just want to get the one like you're talking about, Jesse, that he can just put on it where you raise it up and it has your keyboard and everything on it. I think that's probably what I'll end up doing.
Yeah. I think that especially with everybody working from home, I'm sure those companies are doing really well right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people need the desks, and I don't know. I think it's funny. It's like if I work from home, I do work from home, and I do sit at a desk all day. So I guess
I would use a dining table.
Well, that's what this is. This is from the gold, the good old. Here it's called the DI. It's like a Mormon run Goodwill, but yeah, that's where I got this from for like $10. But no, I get the reasoning why you'd want the one where you can sit down, and then if you get tired, you just raise it up and you can stand up and work. I get it, but I just don't know if I'd ever use it. I don't know if I'd actually ever stand up.
I've only used a stand-up desk for over 2 years now. I don't even have it. It's fixed stand up. I don't even sit down at all. I
was going to say, I think you'd be surprised because as soon as it's like, it's a whole nother experience.
Yeah.
Like I get tired of like sitting here the whole time and like looking. Yeah. I just want to be able to like stand up and be comfortable, like whatever height I want. Cause it's not adjusting your chair. So it is really, really, really nice.
I guarantee you my productivity went up 30 or 40%. Because if I'm sitting down in a chair, especially one of those little swivelly chairs, I sit here for 5 or 10 minutes. I'm on the computer, and then the next thing I know, I'm staring at the ceiling for 45 minutes and for no reason whatsoever. But if I'm standing up, like I'm more in tune. I'm paying attention. I get more stuff done. It's definitely been better on my back. Now I have to get, you wear good shoes and get a mat, like cushy mat or whatever to stand on. But I think it's been better for my back and everything. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, right. Jesse probably has one of those little balancing wheel things that you can get so you can like exercise while you're standing.
I have the yoga ball and I'm just like...
Yeah, I was thinking about getting a yoga ball chair, okay?
Yeah, that's right. Pull it.
Now they have them with backs and everything.
So this podcast is brought to you by Work Gear. From your shop to your home to what you make, build, restore, or renovate for yourself, your family, or your profession. It doesn't matter. Work Gear is a brand that supports your lifestyle with performance gear and apparel, delivering all-day performance and all-day comfort. I have the Work Gear gaiter. I use it for sanding, routing in the shop all the time. Absolutely love it. And actually as a mask to go to certain stores that require it. I wear it all the time. It is fantastic, breathable. I love it. I'm actually wearing one of their performance sweatshirts. I've worn it for 3 days straight. My wife is telling me to wash it, but I refuse. It is so comfortable. And I love their stuff. So make sure you guys go check them out. We have a promo code for you. It's GBS15, GBS15 for 15% off all their gear. Make sure that you go check them out. Follow them on Instagram. When you support our sponsors, you support us. So thank you for watching. Make sure you go check them out.
Speaking about lumber, I went on Friday. There's a company I've been talking with for a while now. They reached out to me and are interested in partnering. It's called Hartsell Hardwoods. And they're in Pequot, Ohio, which is like 2.5 hours away from me here in Indy. And so I started doing some research. Turns out this company has been around since like the 1800s and like helped develop the, walnut propeller shafts for the Wright brothers. I mean, it was just insane.
Wow. That's cool.
And so I got to go tour their facility on Friday. And it is mind blowing. For one, the amount, I did some stories on, I haven't done any posts or anything about it yet, but it is mind blowing the amount of lumber. Like stacks as taller than my house. They're like one of the biggest suppliers of walnut, like global suppliers of walnut. But they were like explaining how, the log comes in and then they cut everything down and it goes in the steam box. And then it goes from the steam box to this other location where it, recovers from the steaming process and it waits to go in the kiln. And then it goes in the kiln. And then from the kiln, it goes and gets, inspected. And they walked me through the building where everything gets inspected and how the inspection process goes. And then to like the shipping and, the ready facility where everything goes. And it was crazy. I actually got to go in a kiln while it was drying lumber.
That's awesome.
Which was really interesting.
Yeah.
Very hot and humid.
What kind of kiln was it? Like a dehumidification kiln or?
I don't know that.
Like
I just walked in and it was
going through it.
Yeah. And it wasn't like
you could walk into any other kind, I guess. You're not going
it
to.
wasn't super hot. Like it wasn't like 500 degrees in there.
Right.
It was definitely warm, but it was really, really humid and it smelled good. It was just full of walnut. I mean, 100,000 feet of, walnut or more than that. I don't even know. The building was massive. but it was a really cool experience. They have like walnut, ash, white oak, red oak, and I think hickory are the woods that they're really big on. But they sell like, I think he said it was like 20 million board feet of walnut, per year, and that's like small. That's small. Like some of the big hitters in the industry are selling like hundreds of millions of board feet.
Crazy.
But it was really cool because I got to leave there with. I'm doing some projects now. Left there with like a whole bunch of their like oak grade walnut, and a bunch of white oak. And I say oak grade walnut because this is something that I learned. So like the way that lumber is graded, right? Some woods are more stringent than others. Oak being one of those woods that's very stringent. Walnut is not as stringent. So a first and seconds, top quality white oak board is going to be a lot clearer than a top quality walnut by industry standards. But what they do is they have like common, rust, in this case, rustic, right? Number 1, number 2, common. And then you have, your FAS, select and better, all that stuff. And then you have oak grade walnut. And then you have this premium walnut. And the premium is like damn near 100%, defect free. But the oak grade is walnut that's graded the same specifications as oak. So it's an even better quality walnut than the standard walnut you would buy in a place. So I just thought that was really interesting, like learning about the grading process.
Did they tell you what the steam room or steam box was for?
Yeah. So
I don't know anything about that.
So with walnut, because of all the sapwood, the whole purpose of the steam box is to even out the color and help balance the color of it. So if there's a ton of sapwood in it, the steam box will actually allow that wood to kind of give a more uniformed, even color across the entire board. Because like I just cut up a piece yesterday. I was finishing the tops for the built-in closet that I did for our master closet, and we did walnut tops in there. And one of the pieces had some sapwood in it, but the sapwood was not like white, really prominent white like I have seen in a lot of other stuff. It was definitely a much darker tint to it. And so it just basically evens it out. That's the whole purpose of the steam box.
That's interesting.
I've had some air dried walnut that is just a vast difference. Like it is, it's insane the difference between the two colors or whatever.
Yeah. You get a lot more like purples and greens and
Yeah.
So,
I'm surprised you didn't bring a camera and film. Like that's something, especially your YouTube, right? So your YouTube caters to people that are really already into this as a hobby, right? Like wouldn't you say like people that are they've already invested some time, they've already started a shop. Like it's most of the time I feel like that's your content. And so I feel like going to somewhere like that and filming it and talking to people and doing things like that, your channel, your audience would love seeing some of that. So
it's funny you mentioned that because that's a conversation that we did have while I was there. And they have another location that they're going to be using for their distribution because the one that's at the current facility, it's been there for years. So it's very old. And I asked them about that. I was like, look, I think a really cool idea would be for me to come back here after you get your new facility and we do this like we did today, but I film everything. And then we had some really, really interesting conversations because they just started an Instagram, and they want to start getting their name out there. I was like, you need to start capitalizing on the fact that there are people in this community who are very intimidated by going to a lumber yard, and we can all speak for that. I was like, so you guys can leverage the educational piece. And if you do that, I think a lot of people would be very interested, and it would take a lot of that nerve off by going to a lumber yard. Because you know how it is. You go there for the first time and some guy's standing there and he doesn't care about you because you're not buying 7,000 board feet of lumber. And you're asking questions that they get asked all day. So they're kind of jerks.
Like what is a board foot?
Yeah. That's right. Like, where's the price of this? How much is it per foot? How much is each board? So I think that's what they're going to start, focusing on a little bit more. In terms of, education for people. But here's the other interesting thing. So when they called me and we had a discussion, I've always been very interested in that because I'm sure you guys get this question a lot. Hey, I don't have a lumber supplier in my area. Where can I get lumber from? And almost every single time I'll always ask them, hey, where are you located? Right? And they send me back a message. And within 10 minutes, I can find at least 1 or 2 lumber suppliers in their area by doing a Google search because I know the terms to look for. Right. And it'll blow their mind, right? Well, what I didn't know is that, see, I thought that they were a supplier like that could, like Jesse, you could call and say, hey, I need, 100 board feet of ash. Here's my address, and they ship it to you, right? And there's a shipping cost involved with that and all that. Well, that's not the case. They don't do that. They also don't have a retail location. They will eventually, but they don't have a retail location right now. So I'm like, well, what do you want me to do for you? And so really it comes down to brand awareness, right? Getting their name out there more. So it turns out I walk into this meeting, and on the TV, they have one of my YouTube videos, and it was the walnut dining room table. And they had it paused on a very specific part where I was cutting this 8-quarter piece of walnut on the miter saw station, and the end of it was painted blue. And he goes, yeah, we were just getting caught up in some of your videos. It was a beautiful table. It's like, hey, where'd you get the lumber for that? And I'm like, oh, I got it at this local place in Georgia. It was a lumber supplier, really nice lumber supplier. He's like, yeah, that's our lumber. I was like, wait, what? I was like, how do you know that? He's like, the blue end. That's our lumber. And he goes, what was the lumber supplier? And I told him the name, and he was like, yeah, we supply them with their walnut. And I was like, that is very interesting. So I have a table in my dining room right now that is lumber from Hartsell Hardwoods, and I never even knew it. And so it was just strange that it's like Pure Bond, right? Like you can't go to the Pure Bond store and buy Pure Bond plywood, but you can go to 700 different, stores throughout the United States and buy Pure Bond plywood because they are a retailer for that product.
So I wonder how that works, right? So they say that they paint all their wood blue or just their walnut? Because every time, just their walnut. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's interesting. Because all the wood I buy from my lumber suppliers all painted on the ends, which I'm sure maybe that's common for everybody. So I just bought walnut, so I kind of want to run out and be like, is it blue?
Well, so here's the thing, though, because I asked him that. I was like, is blue your color? And he was like, yes. I was like, can another company use blue? He said, well, they can. But the fact that is a store that is supplied by them.
Yeah.
Like they knew. They were like, Peach. I told him Peach State Lumber. And he was like, yep. He's like, we supply them. We supply their sister company. We supply. And then I started telling him other lumber places that I knew in Georgia. And he's like, we don't supply them. We don't supply them. We do supply them. But yeah, it might be.
Funny. I'll have to look.
And so,
after.
And that's what I would tell people. That's how I can kind of pitch it. Like, the lumber's fantastic. I mean, it's really, really, really nice. And if somebody asks, I'll be like, hey, find out. Call your lumber local supplier and say, hey, do you guys carry Hartsell walnut? Mm-hmm. They're going to know. It's going to be a yes or no. They get it from somewhere. They're not milling it there. Mm-hmm. They get all of that stuff in. And then they put their price on it, and then they sell it.
Yeah. Hey, when did you really get into woodworking? How long have you been doing this?
January of 2016.
So yeah, not too
4.5 years.
Yeah, so about the same time as I think all of us, kind of, right? Yeah. Like all of us kind of started, at least on Instagram, started pushing this way all around that same time. I think Jesse was a year after, but
I didn't get on Instagram or anything until quite a bit later. I did January 2016. The only reason I know that is because that's when I moved from Columbus to North Georgia, and that's my wife wanted me to build a table. So it wasn't until late in 2016, probably, that I started Instagram, and my wife made my Instagram account for me. And she was like, you should be using that, because I was using Facebook like most people probably were as a business tool. And she was like, you could do it on Instagram. And so I started posting on Instagram, and I was like, oh, I can show pictures. This is a lot easier. But then I realized very quickly that Instagram is a community, and I was like, oh, cool, I can share this and that. And then I was like, I really enjoy this. I like teaching. Maybe I should make a YouTube video. And then I released my first YouTube video on December 30th or December 31st of 2017. That was my first video. And then since then, it's just, evolved into what it is now.
Yeah. So you said your first project was a dining table?
Mm-hmm.
So what'd you use? What tools did you have to complete that project?
It was a dining room table based on a video from DIY Pete. It was a farmhouse table. And he said I needed a miter saw, a Craig jig, some clamps, a drill, and maybe a couple other tools. And I went to Sears and I bought those tools. And
like he said, I better get them.
I went to Home Depot and I bought, the construction grade pine, and we made that table, and I was just hooked.
Oh, that's awesome. I think that's cool. Do you talk to Pete now?
No, but I
really?
did meet him at
That's
Workbench Con this last time finally. Yeah, and I didn't know he was going to be there, and I saw him walking. He was walking towards the elevator, and I ran over there, and I was introduced myself, and I was just like, hey, I just want you to know that, you're the reason why I'm doing this. Like, it was your video that started. He was super, super nice. That's really, cool. Really nice guy. We've talked once or twice since then, but
yeah, that's awesome. Hey, for people that don't know, by the way, Jason just got 1 million subscribers on. Oh wait, no, 100,000. Sorry,
I was like, you did? Wait, what? That's cool.
They sent me the wrong color then.
That was really fast.
Jumped the gun there.
Yeah, wow.
Just wanted to overshoot just to kind of make you a little bit humble. You know what I mean?
Not to downplay it or anything, but it's only 100,000.
Oh,
you were
just
only
100,000. Oh,
yeah, you were only off by 900,000.
Yeah, it was like 100,000. Did we invite the wrong guy? Anybody? No, never mind. That's all right. Hey, congratulations, though.
Thank you.
Different Jason.
That's pretty awesome. How many videos do you have on YouTube now? How long have you been posting?
A lot more than us.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's got to be like 70, maybe 60 something, 70 something.
What's your routine? Like, how often do you post?
Every other week.
Okay.
I started every week. And what I found is that, because again, like, this is not my full-time job, like I still have 2.5 years left in the Army. So I tried to do every week, and I was like, this is just awful. And so what I would end up doing is I would make some BS video. It was like, I'd release on a Friday. Thursday night rolls around. It's like, what can I do a tour review on? Let me grab this. And I just feel like when you do that, you're sacrificing the content. The content's not that great, but you're doing it just for the purposes of getting a video out. Well, content is king in any social media platform. If you put 3 videos up a month that are fantastic, or 15 videos up a month that, 14 of them suck, you're not going to get great results. So every summer when I was in ROTC, we had to go to Fort Knox to evaluate the cadets that come across nationwide for ROTC. And so while I was there, I was like, well, I'm going to have to go to once every other week. So I just produced a bunch of videos before I left, scheduled all of them, and then they got released while I was there, but it was on a bi-weekly basis. And when I did that, as soon as I came back, I just never looked back. And so now if I have an additional video to post, it's great. And then I know we talked about this in the Instagram group, the chat that we're on. And now I'm doing Instagram Live or YouTube Live. And so my plan behind YouTube Live, I was doing it on Instagram, but the platform sucks. It's just not a good platform. And I was putting those videos on a second YouTube channel in the hopes of eventually monetizing that channel and then having an archive of all those videos. But the problem is that you have to shoot everything in, vertical portrait mode. Yeah. And if you turn it, it doesn't do anything on an Instagram Live. So everybody complained about the quality of the video, but I was putting them there so people could at least listen to them, almost like a podcast. Because it's just question and answer. So it's not like most of the time I'm not demonstrating anything. But then I started doing demos, and then I got even more complaints. Like, can you please do this in landscape? So finally one day, my friend Ben, the one I was telling you about, Jesse, before we started this, the one that was here this weekend, he was like, have you ever tried on your phone? I was like, no, you can't do live on your phone on YouTube.
That's what I thought.
Well, it turns out you can. And it's exactly the same thing as doing an Instagram, only the quality of the video is better. There is no time limit, and you can immediately upload it to your channel, and therefore it's monetized right after you do it. And so now I said, okay, well, instead of doing every week live, why don't I do a bi-weekly live in between my other videos? So now theoretically, I'm not doing any more work. I'm actually doing less work because I'm doing once every other week as opposed to every week. It's another video that goes out. It gets me more views. It's not going to get a lot of views. It's never going to go viral, but it's going to target that audience that likes what I do the most. But now I have a video coming out every single week. So that's kind of how I'm going to move forward from this point. But this time of year, I really try to double down and go on YouTube. So I'm probably going to be a little bit heavier on YouTube throughout the rest of the year.
I've really been thinking about doing that, but I've never done a live on YouTube. And I just feel like it'd be weird, like just trying to talk to the camera, especially if like not a bunch of people come in or you don't get a bunch of questions. You're just sitting there like,
well, I can promise you one thing. It is not as easy as Jason makes it look.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
there's a couple of guys that make the lives look really easy, and you and Brad Brad from Fix This Build That, make it look very easy, and it's annoying how easy you guys make
Matt
it look.
Ramona does a really good job also.
If you're comfortable doing stories, doing a live is no different. Where I will agree with you that I feel like it really starts to get in the nitty gritty, and I love doing this. And I think people really like it too. I love doing demonstrations live. And I was doing that a lot on Instagram to be like, hey, I'm installing full extension door slides, or hey, I'm going to do this, or hey, I'm doing this task, using the router, doing this stuff. And I'll just throw my phone on live in the middle of a day during the week. And it's funny, I'll actually get more people that watch that. But it's that thing where you're doing a live, you're actually doing something. If you screw up, it's on you. That's a little more nerve-wracking than just talking. I'm an extreme extrovert, right? So like I can go into any situation and talk to people and be fine, right? So, but when I first started all of this, I was still an extrovert, but it was still very weird. But I do so many stories now, and I've done so many YouTube videos that you get used to it. Like Brandon, I watch your stories all the time, and you're fine on your stories. A live would be the same thing.
That's because I do them 5 times before I post them.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, that wasn't good. Erase, start over.
I do too, very often.
Yeah.
It's not. There's a part
only
of me
a certain amount of time to fill. I don't have like this blank space of nothing.
But here's the deal: there is no time limit, though. Like, there's nothing saying if you do a YouTube live that it has to be an hour long.
Right.
Yeah.
It could only be 15 minutes.
More than 15 seconds, though.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised, though. I need to do that. That's what I've been thinking about, is doing, like you're saying, every other week. That way I have a video coming out every week.
Yeah. Because the way I look at, okay, so I think all of you guys are kind of in the same boat. I've noticed like all of you guys have really slowed down on Instagram.
100%.
Right?
I don't know. I'm starting to pick back up now that Reels has kind of kicked my ass into gear. I'm like 200,000 views on Reels. Oh, it's like the old days. Let's start this again.
So Instagram, I'm always been heavy. I'm still pretty heavy on Instagram. I need to switch my focus to YouTube, and I have not. And so
it's not even that. So like Instagram is a really cool platform, and like, I respond to every message I get. I try to respond or at least acknowledge every comment. Mm-hmm. It's very time consuming, but I don't post every day. I was like hustling just like you guys were to get to that, 100,000 or whatever number you had set in your mind. Mm-hmm. I could care less about any number on Instagram. You know why? Because Instagram really has never made any money for me. It has really never done anything for me. It has not brought any opportunities for me. All these opportunities are all based on relationships, right? That's the more I'm starting to realize that the bigger you're, everybody has this idea in the beginning. They're like, I need to have these huge numbers because if I get these huge numbers, I'm going to have all these great opportunities. You don't need huge numbers to have great opportunities. You need to have really good relationships and good conversations.
And those big numbers don't mean that you're going to have good relationships.
Absolutely, right? And so I look at Instagram as a platform where I want to target the people that follow me the closest, which is why I do so many stories, but I don't post as much anymore, because the stories is that connection with those people who truly want, like, think of a sales funnel, right? I thought in the beginning YouTube was like the end all be all. And I'll tell you right now, like YouTube, that's nothing. That's a drop in the bucket, right? Unless you have like 1 million subscribers and you're having viral videos all the time. YouTube, like if ad revenue for YouTube went away, like that's the level I'm trying to get to. If YouTube ad revenue goes away tomorrow, like I don't even care. Because it is just a stepping stone. So I take like YouTube is like the top of this funnel and Instagram is the top of this funnel. And yes, it's great to have this huge audience within that platform, but you really want to start building those connections with the people, which will end up at the bottom of your funnel. You can have 500,000 people that are following you, but you only need 100 people to make a difference in your future and in your life. Like you really do. You know, think of guys like Mark Spagnuolo, right? He has huge followings. Do you think he has 500,000 people in his guild? No. Right? I have 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. Am I getting 100,000 views on every video? Hell no, I'm not. Matter of fact, like my last 5 videos, I don't think have gotten over 10,000 views. But I don't care. You know, it's like if 3,000 people watch that and they get something out of it, cool. Right? Yeah. Because out of those 3,000 people, those are going to be the ones that, you know, once I start offering things that I actually put a ton of time and energy into and do expect some sort of payment in return, i.e. like, classes or something like that, those are going to be the people that are doing it. And those are the people that I'm truly targeting.
And I love the direction you're going with the classes. I think that's awesome. I think that's an excellent way to actually help people that follow you the most. You know, there's people there that they are following you. They're on your website. They're on your YouTube. They're on your Instagram for a reason. And that's because they learn things from you. And in the classes that you're doing and moving towards, I think that's just an excellent idea. I love that idea.
I just tell people all the time, like, you know, it doesn't matter what. I'm very green in woodworking. I try to tell people this all the time. I get messages from people, just like I'm sure you guys do, and it's like, oh my God, you're the best, and I just wish that one day I'll be like you. I'm like, look, man, please do not put me in this pedestal of like I am some master woodworker. I am not. I screw up every project every single time. I try to show it when I do. It's not, but every single person, no matter what level you are at, has something to say that will benefit somebody. It doesn't matter if it's 3 people or if it's 10,000 people. That's why I tell people, like, hey, if you feel like this is a field that you want to go down it, because you might only have 100 subscribers, but 7 or 8 of those people, you know, even if it's only 7 or 8, the 7 or 8 people that watch your video may really take a lot away from that video. And you just changed their life the way that somebody changed your life in order for you to get into this field. Yeah. And as you get bigger, that pool grows, because not only are you going to get better, like for me, there's many times where I will try a specific thing for the first time. And if I'm comfortable with it and comfortable explaining it, I will then do a YouTube video about it. That does not make me an expert. It just gives me the ability to explain something in the way that I explain it so they can understand it and hope that they can go, okay, that wasn't that bad. Now I get it. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
absolutely.
No, you're really good at explaining things to a layperson or someone that has not minimal knowledge, but someone that's trying to learn. I think you're just a good teacher in general. Like every video I've followed you. Like I would have assumed me asking you how long you've been woodworking a lot longer, right? And it makes me feel sad that you're that much better than me at woodworking, because we've been.
Let's be for real. He's really not that good of a woodworker. He's just got a lot of Festool.
Exactly.
That's what
exactly.
It is.
And
if I had as much Festool,
if you have really expensive tools, they make you good.
Yes. Yeah, that's what it is.
It is a fact.
I can only imagine, like, the comments that I get are out of control. I can only imagine the comments that you get on, well, if I had all those tools, I could do that too. Like,
you know what?
I just did that with a table saw and a drill.
Believe it or not, that was one thing that I was the Festool thing is something that will keep me from ever growing to the size of somebody like April Wilkerson. That and the fact that, you know, I don't focus on a lot of like really heavy DIY stuff that is which is, there's nothing wrong with that, but it appeals to a much larger audience, right? There's more people searching for that than how to make X, right?
You're more niche. You have a more targeted market. Yeah.
But I did think for a very long time that the whole Festool thing and my obsession with that tool brand was going to open up the floodgates to everybody and their mom wanting to hate on me. It really doesn't happen nearly as often. And here's why.
Oh, that's good.
Because you can't scroll through your Instagram feed now without seeing a Domino, a sander, a track saw, one of their vacs, any of their stuff. Well, social media has changed the stigma on that brand. And because it has changed the stigma on the brand, more people are seeing it. It's more common, which means more people want to try it out. More people try it out. They finally start to realize, like, okay, I get it, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to, say, 5-6 years ago when Mark Spagnuolo would not even want to use a Domino, because if he used a Domino, everybody would say, oh, must be nice,
right,
to spend all that money on a tool. But now, if he doesn't use a Domino,
you know what they say?
He
did not use them for a long time because.
Oh yeah, and he'll openly talk about that on his podcast. And now, when he doesn't use a Domino and he does things by hand, you know what everybody says? Why didn't you just use a Domino?
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say that. I heard him talking about that the other day.
So the culture has
Matt
changed.
Said the same thing.
I mean, even yesterday, I got multiple responses to my stories where I was doing these glue ups. They're, the dressers that I built, they're small. They're not. They might be, I don't know, 400 millimeters wide, whatever that equivalent is in Imperial now. But they were like, "Did you use a Domino to do your tabletops or to do your dresser tops?" No. Why not? Right. It's like people, like, I'm getting criticized because I'm not using the tool.
Yeah.
It's like I didn't use it because it's not necessary.
I don't need to spend $2 per hole.
Yeah, I don't need to do that. It's not. There's no reason for me to use the Domino. If you mill the lumber properly and you use glue, like, that's all you need. It's fine. Like, I don't need the alignment assistance, and it's the top of a dresser. Like, no one's going to be dancing on it.
People ask me that on that desktop video I did, because it's nearing 1 million views, so I get the most comments on that, obviously. But people are always like, "Why didn't you use a Domino instead of why are you using biscuits? Don't you have a Domino?" I'm like, "Yeah, biscuits are way cheaper, and it doesn't do anything more to use a Domino. It's a 8-quarter tabletop. It's not going to go anywhere."
I've had the opposite of this too, where it's like the opposite of must be nice, where I have a Ryobi trim router that I got for $30 because it was the last one and it didn't have a battery. But back at the time, that's all I had starting out was Ryobi. So I was like, all right, I'm going to buy this for $30. I still use it because it's easy for cutting boards, just quick trim route, whatever. And I get messages when I use it, or comments are like, "Wow, really? I would expect something better from you for trim route." And I'm like, dude, it was $30. Like, I'm not passing up on $30 trim router.
Yeah, I get all the time because I still use the Ryobi biscuit joiner and like their buffer to buff and finish. Like,
yeah, so
it's a buffer. You can't really as long as it turns on, you should be good.
It's funny.
There's a difference between all that stuff. Like, everything is just a tool. Like, you get what you pay for. Is a Ryobi router going to serve you well? Absolutely it will, right? But as you start to increase, the cost that you're willing to spend on a tool, it's like a Domino. Do you need a Domino to do what the Domino does? No, you don't. You can absolutely do the same task in other ways. Exactly the same task.
With the router.
However, is it as fast? Nope. Is it as easy? No. Is it as accurate? No, because you incorporate a lot of, user error when you're doing it with multiple different tools. So but you can still do it. So if you're not doing it all the time, like, you don't need that tool, then don't get the tool. But if you want to save time and you want to save energy and you want another big thing is customer service, quality of the tools, accuracy, warranty, there's some companies, you're paying for all of those things. Buy a saw stop table saw, right? Or go buy the rigid R4512 from Home Depot and put both of those things together, and you tell me which one of those is a better experience. 100%, it's the saw stop. It's like whoever made the manual on how to install that, it's one of the nicest installation and assembly things I've ever done in my entire life. And you pay for that, right? Mm-hmm. So, and that's what people fail to understand. It's not, spending all this money on these tools is not just because it's that name. It's because it comes with a lot of other stuff behind that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, I'm as much of a tool guy as I am a woodworking guy. Like I will watch just for instance, like Jason, some of your videos that even if I'm not interested in what you're building, I will still watch those videos because I enjoy seeing the different tools. I enjoy seeing the expensive tools that I don't have. I enjoy seeing the different tools that I don't have and people use them because I just like tools. I don't know. I like tools as much as I do woodworking. So I enjoy it.
He also watches your videos because he thinks you're really sexy. So there's that as well.
It is. That is a struggle I deal with is, beating all the women away.
Jason's like, also on my Patreon, if you're a $5 member, you do get shirtless pictures. So subscribe.
Yeah, that's his OnlyFans.
OnlyFans. I'm sorry. OnlyFans.
No, I totally get it. It's just like watching shop tour videos, right? Like,
right.
I'm really happy with my shop, but I'll watch every shop tour video I can because I might see one thing that I didn't know existed or one thing that I never thought of. Same thing goes with tools.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, like it's obvious I have a very obsessive personality when it comes to certain things. Like when I get into something, I get into it very heavily. And before woodworking, it was bass fishing. Before bass fishing, it was golf.
Guilty.
And I just go crazy. And I'm one of those people, like I'm just going to spend the money on something that I know I'm going to like because why? Like, I don't understand why people care so much about what someone else's shop. And I'll tell you what it is. It's jealousy. It is the only thing that it is. It is 100% jealousy. And it's fine. Like people can be jealous, but when they spew all that hatred and stuff, it's like, this is my shop. Like, What do you care what I'm spending my money on? I spend a lot of time in this location. So therefore I want to enjoy the space that I'm in. It's just like your home, right? You're going to spend a ton of money on remodeling your home because you want to feel comfortable in that location. My shop is the exact same way. Mm-hmm. And so it always just blows my mind that people are so, they have so much hatred and they're like, and everybody assumes that you get everything for free and all that stuff. And it's like 99% of those tools in my shop, I paid for every single bit of them. It hasn't even been until just recently that I have started getting tools at either a discounted cost or free, or I did leverage my social media following on the build out of the shop because I had a lot of money I had to spend on getting it the way I wanted to get it.
Well, you also worked your ass off for 4 years grinding on social media or however long you've been on. And so I hate when people just like you said, they assume everything's free or like you got it easy. It's like, no, I've been working every day to get the audience to get, to work with these companies. It's just I'm working different than you. You're putting your hours in somewhere else to get the money to pay for it. I'm putting my hours here. This is where I'm putting my hours.
And
so I
did
can
it
pay
all
for
that
something.
Time with no return.
Exactly. Yeah, it was zero return just for the hopes of getting some sort of relationship down the road.
We probably all get that, I'm sure.
Like, think about it. When all of you guys started and you started getting into this and you started to build an audience, and let's say you had 1,000 followers, right? On Instagram, and you saw the guy that had 50,000 posting about the new tool that he got today. Tomorrow he's posting about the other new tool that he got. The next day he's posting about the other new tool that he got. Everybody's reaction at a certain time along this evolution of social media, I think everybody goes through that mindset of, why is this person getting it? I do way better work than that person and they're getting all this free stuff just because they have a big following. This is really irritating, right? And then it starts to morph into, oh, this company wants to give me this. Okay, cool. I'll take this. I'll take this. I'll take this. I'll take this. And then it gets to a point where it's like, I don't need that stuff. I don't want just anything. Now I'm going to start focusing on these companies. Mm-hmm. And so everybody goes through that evolution. That's why, like, I find myself now in situations where I used to make very, harsh remarks on, certain people when I first got started. And what it stemmed from? Jealousy. 100%. I was looking at it and I'm like, how is this person getting all this stuff and they don't even, hardly ever even do any woodworking or this and that? Well, now I'm on the other side of that. And we're all on the other side of that. And so now we look at it completely different. Something that I actually find kind of funny is that, like, I think one of the things I have going for me is because I invested so much money in a lot of these tools early on, and I've kind of like set that standard, like these are the tools that I have in my shop. You know, I got the drills from Festool, right? They sent me those drills. They're new battery operated or battery powered drill line set, right? The most common remark I got was either congratulations, that's awesome, or it's about damn time, right? And so I didn't get that negative feedback, but it's because I established that precedence. It's not like I went from, hey, today I'm sponsored by Ryobi, and tomorrow I'm sponsored by Rigid, and then now I'm sponsored by Powermatic, and then now I'm sponsored. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It was like I put that stuff in my shop, and now I'm getting stuff in return, and the feedback that I've gotten so far has been fantastic. And so it's kind of worked, you know, well for me. But everybody goes through that stage, like everybody. I even find myself now, and I see some of these bigger accounts doing certain things, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Are you serious? Like, why that person? You know?
Yep. Yeah. For me, it's like, man, and it's not even woodworking accounts, but it's like someone gets like a truck or something, and you know it's not theirs. They're leasing it or whatever. They get it for a certain amount of time. I'm like, oh man, that'd be real nice to get a truck. That Ford Raptor, that's pretty cool.
I bet you they don't even have to pay for services on that thing.
They get free oil changes for the next 6 months.
Yeah. I bet you when that's over, they're going to give them like the next better model.
Yeah, exactly. But I find that stuff actually motivating for me. That's just my mindset. When I see someone doing really good, or, you know, you get the silver plaque, which is just crazy. When I see that stuff, it's really motivating to say, okay, I can do that too. It's just not, I don't do my stuff the same way you do yours. So I got to find my own path, but it's all about the grind. It's about just putting the work in. And so when I see somebody actually even getting a truck or even getting a tool or whatever it is, I think it's cool. I'm like, that's awesome. They're working with those people. And I think you're right. I think it's that evolution. I wasn't like that when I had 2,000 followers, 3,000 followers. I just was like, man, I can't wait till I get there, and that stinks.
Because you don't realize how much work it takes to actually get to that position.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not.
Some people make it look easy, but it's not by any means.
But no, it's not. Like, I was looking at my phone, you know, on average, like it just came up today. It was telling me like what my average screen time was for the week. I spend over 7 hours every day looking at my phone. 7. Think about that for a minute. Over 7 hours a day looking at the screen of my phone, whether it's answering comments, whether it's answering questions. That is a lot of time, and that's bad. I've been on this kick lately. I just watched.
He's like, also, I don't recommend it.
Yeah, but, no, I don't. But it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of time, and you're sacrificing a lot of things, which is why I don't get nearly as much done in the shop anymore. And that's not even including looking at my computer screen. Yeah. But I watched. Have you guys watched The Social Dilemma yet?
I haven't.
I've heard it will make you want to put your phone down. So
it didn't change
I don't want to watch it.
It didn't change my views on like my business is based on social media like 100%, right? So like I'm not going to change that, but it did open my eyes to a couple other things. But tonight, so I watched that video, and then tonight I watched The Great Hack, which is another documentary that's talking about like Brexit and how, you know, the Facebook data that was taken to help, you know, with the campaign, the Trump campaign, and like there was all this stuff that was done illegally, and it was just like, it was all based around using data, like how all this data from social media is using targeting ads and all this other stuff. But, you know, it is a lot of work, and you have to put in a lot of time to get to that point. And that's one reason why I've really, really started enjoying, we talked about this earlier, the podcasts. I just recently started listening to Making It. And so here you have 3 guys, you know, between Jimmy DiResta, Bob Claggett, and David Picciuto, right? 3 huge presences in the YouTube and social media world, right? And when they talk about it, it's like they're at the far end of that evolution. And Jimmy talks about it so well when he's talking, like people get mad at me for doing sponsored posts and for my YouTube videos. Well, yeah, guess what? That's my job. Like that is how I earn my revenue. I don't care, you know?
Right, yeah.
And, you know, I'm at this point now where it's like, I've been very, very hesitant on doing sponsored YouTube videos. I think I've only done 2, and it's just a personal thing for me. But, you know,
what makes you hesitant? What makes
it's like I'm leaving money on the table, right?
Yeah. That's why I'm curious. Why aren't you doing more? Because I feel like with your channel, you'd have that opportunity. Why don't you pursue that more? You just feel like the authenticity of it?
Yes, but it depends. Like I'm slowly shifting my focus, right? So like you are going to see me doing sponsored videos, but it has to fit. And that goes back to the podcast that I was talking about. Like those guys actually prefer not to do a woodworking company. They would prefer to do something that has nothing to do with woodworking, because then there is no expectation from the woodworking company on this and that. And so I'm trying to align myself with companies that I have, you know, believe in and I partner with and that I use naturally, and it's not something new. And so you're going to see that stuff on my page moving forward, because theoretically, yes, I am absolutely leaving money on the table, but this is not about money for me right now. Like the Army pays my bills, right? So nothing that I'm making is supporting my family per se. It has started to. Like it's allowing me the opportunity for my wife to kind of take a step back from her job to start helping me with some of my tasks. It's allowing me to pay my truck payment. It's allowing me to pay for things that we're doing to fix the house. But right now, it's not like if I don't make X amount of dollars this month, I'm not paying. You know, bills. I'm not screwed. Like I'm going to get my check from the government. Like it's not, that's not going anywhere. So, all of this is solely to get me ready for retirement, because when I do retire, I absolutely plan on doing this full time. And if things keep going the way that they have, you know, I'll surpass, you know, my income in the Army probably in the next 6 to 9 months.
That's great.
And
that's awesome, man.
I thought that was maybe a possibility by the time I retired, just like maybe hitting 100,000 subscribers by the time I retired. You know, like my goal when I first started all this, I was like, I want to be at 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I want to be at 50,000 followers on Instagram. And I was like, if I do that, I'm going to get all of these options available to me. And now I'm like, none of that matters.
Right.
Yep.
I've built relationships with people because of conversations that I had, and that has led to where I am. And none of that had anything to do with the numbers. The numbers is just a benefit, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
awesome,
I was just I was in the shop a little while ago working on a new YouTube video. You were talking about authenticity and sponsored versus not sponsored. And I found myself, and I have to do it more and more, and I think everybody has to do it nowadays. It's like when you're doing something and you really want somebody to believe you, at the beginning you have to say, this is not a sponsored video. Like you have to like let people know. Yeah, like this is not a sponsored video. You're going to get complete authenticity, you know, whatever. And I don't know, I've based my social media off the fact that whether it is or isn't, you're going to get the truthfulness, but you feel like you have to explain that. You feel like you have to say it, because these days that sometimes is not the case across the board with people. You know what I mean?
So, yeah, but I feel like the people that aren't going to believe you are not the people that you want in your audience anyway.
No, I agree. Yeah, I agree.
They're not going to be the people that actually go to your other channels and
or
dive
purchase
in
something you're offering, or
plans, whatever
try
it is,
to
merch.
Support
so
you in
that
whatever
feeling
way.
that you have, Jesse, is completely self-imposed, and we all do it to ourselves. And that is exactly why I have not gone down that path. But think about it like this. I'll try to give a couple examples that would be relevant. So let's use SawStop, right? Let's say SawStop said, hey, Jason, we want to sponsor a YouTube video, and we want you to do a review on our table saw, and we're going to pay you $1,500 to do it. Why would I do that, right? Because if I was to say, hey, everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to do a review on my SawStop table saw, and the sponsor for today's video is SawStop. What is your first reaction?
You're like, Oh, cool. So you're just gonna go over features, or like for me, it'd be like, okay, he's just gonna show me the saw, but just like what it does. I wouldn't take, because you wouldn't really have any criticism. I wouldn't expect criticisms. I'd just be like, oh, that's cool. He's getting paid to go over some features of people that are maybe interested. Yeah, just to talk about it. It's like, oh, cool. But I'm not gonna look at it to be like, okay, what's negative? What are the pros and cons? That's not that video. Yeah.
Right. And it's like no one's gonna look at that and go, they're going to say, well, of course he's not going to say anything bad. He was paid to say good things. Right. And regardless of whatever the agreement is, because if a company was to come to me and say, I'm going to give my honest opinion. And if you like it, I'm great. If you don't like it, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to lie to my audience. It's just not going to happen.
Right. Yeah.
But now let's say we take, Brandon, you work with Pony, Jorgensen or something. Yeah. Let's say that Pony was like, hey, we want to, you're going to build something. What are you going to build? Well, I'm going to build a dining room table. Cool. We'd like to sponsor your video on your build. Cool. Hey, today I'm going to be building a table and this video is sponsored by Pony. You're not talking about the product. Yeah. Maybe you're using the product, but they just want to be a part of that. And they're wanting that sponsorship because they want brand recognition and notoriety and to get their name out there. So there's that fine balance on like, okay, well, I'm not going to do a sponsored video talking about a specific thing at this point for the sole purposes of doing it for this company, because then anything that I say, people are just going to automatically assume that I'm saying it because I was paid to say it. But if you're just doing a build video and a company decides to sponsor that video, it's a little bit of a different story, right? You can just leave it at that. Like, sure, maybe you don't charge the company as much because you're not really going into detail, but I'm just like, hey, the sponsor for today's video is Woodcraft or whatever it is. And then you just build something. But the company gets that brand recognition, and maybe you put their link in the bio or the description and stuff like that. But, there is that difference between the different types of sponsorships, but it's the feeling that you feel, Jesse, it's completely self-imposed. And I know because I'm the same way. Yeah. I'm like, do I need to say that this is not sponsored because I want people to truly believe me? You're thinking about that because of the negative people that leave the negative comments, and you want to make sure you're appeasing them. But Brandon's right. It's not like those are the people you don't want in your audience.
Right.
Because they're not going to be the people that are going from the top of your funnel to the bottom of your funnel to get where you really want them to go. Mm-hmm. So just let them be negative. And I think that's the hardest struggle in social media, is dealing with the negative people. Because there's always going to be somebody. I posted a video of me unpackaging the silver play button. And I did that because I wanted to share it with the audience that made that happen. And I got one guy that makes this comment. It's like, how about you stop being such a Festool fanboy and actually build something? And I'm like, really?
I mean, he has a point. Come on.
Like, clearly you've never seen anything that I want or anything that I've built, anything that I've made. It's just like, and I didn't even say anything about this product. It's just because it's sitting behind me on a wall, and somebody just has this hatred. And like he even said unsubscribed. You know what I responded with?
You're like, I guess I gotta send this back.
Usually I don't even respond, but Ben was here and I was reading it to him, and he was like, just put something. I wrote, bye, Felicia.
Of course you did.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you.
It's like, oh, he's gone. That one person is gone. My life is over. Right. And I love how they just have the need, like, and I'm going to tell you that I unsubscribed to you. Like,
and then I'm going to look back and see if you commented something back to me.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like people saying, okay, well, I'm officially getting off of social media. Like, they have to announce it to everybody. It's like, you could just get off. You don't have to announce it, man. Just get off.
No one's going to know.
No one cares.
And then they come back 3 days later. They're like, okay, I'm back. It's like,
actually, I appreciate it when people do that, because it helps me to unfollow, and I just keep them in the hopper.
Right. All right, Brandon, what was your question? You had a question for Jason.
I was just going to say, so with stuff like that, how you say you don't want to do like reviews for certain, stuff that they want to sponsor. What about stuff like if they want you to show how to use a product, not like talk it up, and they want to sponsor a video? Because I'm kind of going through that with a couple companies right now, and I'm kind of stuck in that same rut where like I don't know if I want to do a video just to show how to use this certain thing, or versus actually just naturally putting it into a project, even though it may be a good opportunity and a good chance to build a relationship.
I mean, I would still absolutely do that. So again, it's all self-imposed. So like we have these feelings because we are concerned with what the backlash is going to be. At the end of the day, like if you're trying to do this to make money, then do the video, right?
Right.
If the thing you have to do is tell yourself before you do it. And again, I'm in the same boat. Like I have this desire to like not disappoint my audience. I don't let the negative comments bother me, but at the same time, without me really admitting it, like they're clearly bothering me because I'm leaving a lot of money on the table by not doing a lot of sponsored videos because I feel like my audience appreciates that. But it does get to a point where it's like, I am in this position and I can be making money from this and I should be paid for my time because this stuff takes time. It is not simple. It is a lot of additional work. So if that's the case, then I would absolutely do it. I've recently partnered, just signed the contract with Festool, right? So I'm going to be doing some videos like that. And I don't have any problem doing that because that is a company that I truly love and support. But maybe if, what's a tool brand that you don't use and you have no desire to use?
Tack Life.
Okay, Tack. Perfect. Right? So let's say that brand, right?
He does use them.
Yeah, let's
Only
say
the heat gun. Only the gun.
But let's say they came to you and said, hey, we're going to give you all of our tools and we want you to do videos showing how to use all these tools and we're going to pay you this much. Would you feel as comfortable doing it?
No.
But you work with Pony, you work with Moss, you work with whoever else, right? If they were to ask you, hey, we want you to do a video showing the best way to pour this epoxy, you'd feel comfortable doing that, right?
That's definitely not who I was talking about. If that's what you're asking.
No, I'm not saying that.
Kind of hit the nail on the head there.
I gotta
go. Got it. No, but I'm saying though that those are brands that you've supported and that you've been promoting for a long time. So like, why would you not take that opportunity to do that? Because the only thing holding you back from that is the fact that you're worried that people are going to take that negatively the wrong way. But it all depends on how that piece of content is framed. Yeah. It's like I use Festool heavily and I get this question a lot. Well, what if DeWalt or what if Rigid or what if Jet or what if one of these companies said, get rid of all of your tools. We will pay you $10,000 a month and we'll replace every tool in your shop with one of ours. What would you say? And I tell them all the time, I would tell them no, right? I was approached by one company that is a very prominent company. And Brandon, you know who this is, right? I think we've talked about this before. Mm-hmm. I was approached by one company, said, we'll send you every one of our tools. We want you to do videos on those. And I said no, because one, I don't need the tools. Two, it's the biggest competitor to another brand that I really, really like and I promote constantly. And I've never even talked to that other brand. So I'm not getting paid by that other brand. I've been approached by other companies that said, get rid of this. We will pay you and replace all of that product with X. And I've turned them down. Why? Because I don't want it to go against me and who I am as a person and my brand. And I have turned away those opportunities. But if I have a company that comes to me and says, you know, hey, thank you so much for promoting our stuff. We want to help give back. We want to help by sponsoring a video. And all we would ask is that you either use it in our product or you use it in one of your projects, or maybe you could do an overview on how that's used because it seems like you have a really grasp on it. Completely different conversation. Mm-hmm. Right. And so if you can balance those things in your head, I think it's going to make it a lot easier for you. And you just need to detach yourself from what you think your audience is going to say. Because you're going to get new people in your audience. You're going to find new people because of that video that you did.
Yeah. Right. I think doing tool reviews and demonstrations are completely different too, Brandon. Like, I don't think you need to worry if they're not saying, hey, you need to talk this up and make sure that you tell everybody how good this is. Like, that's different than saying, hey, here's some epoxy or whatever it is. We want you to go through the process from step A to whatever, to finish the entire thing. That's so different than a review. A review is supposed to be non-biased. That's why you go there for. If somebody goes and says, hey, features of this table saw, I go into that not thinking that I'm going to see a bunch of cons about it because it's just saying the features, you know what I mean? So
Right.
it's about how you frame your videos too.
Yeah, it was more, I'm not really worried about that. I was more worried about like just trying to structure my channel in a certain way. Like it seems kind of, I don't know, it's probably not a big deal, as I'm probably still making it a bigger deal than it should be. But like you just see like people doing projects, and then like instructional, like this is how you use this thing, and then like back to projects, you know, it just makes it seem real obvious.
I think you
what's
could
going
set up a
on there.
playlist though, right? Set up a
Yeah,
playlist
that
within your
that
YouTube
was my
channel.
plan actually. To
Yeah,
do
you
that.
can
That's what I
control
would
it. I think we talked about that the other day. You can control what people see when they come to your page.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that held me back from doing the YouTube lives for so long is I did not want to cloud my channel with the lives.
Mhm.
So to combat that, when you go to my channel, you're going to see my most popular videos. Then you're going to see my most recent uploads. Then you're going to see my most recent live streams. Then you're going to see playlists. Then you're going to see who I'm subscribed to. And if I want them to target them for a specific video, if you're already subscribed to me, I'm going to put my newest video in the head video for people to see. The algorithm's going to push whatever you're putting out to people based on how it's performing. So, you know, however you want to structure your channel, like you don't have to only do build videos. Like, look at me. I don't like doing build videos. I was talking to Jesse about this before we started. Like, I hate the voiceover process. I hate it takes so much longer. I am so much more comfortable just like, you know what? This week, everybody and their mother asked me about the Festool LR32 system. I'll just do a video on that. Probably gets 3,000, 4,000 views. Oh, well, at least those people that asked me about it have a reference now, right? There's two different types of people on YouTube, at least what I've seen. The people that are chasing
about that, by the way.
the people that are chasing trends, and then the people who are just posting videos because they enjoy posting videos, right? And you know, there's a very, very, very clear delineation between those two, right? Trying to do the same video over and over again. And don't get me wrong, like there's a lot of value in that if you're trying to grow your channel. But once you start growing your channel and it's starting to go on an upward tick, your channel is going to be favored anyways. Start digging into what it is that you truly want to do, because your channel is going to continue to grow. It may not grow as fast as if you had some viral video, but having a viral video can actually be way more detrimental to you in the long run than it is, you know, beneficial. Sure, you might make $10,000 that month in ad revenue because you have a video that got 20 million views, but you also are going to bring in a whole nother group of people that are following your channel that may not be interested in what you're doing, but because you did that one video that was something really, really cool that YouTube decided to show to everybody. And then those are going to be the people that are just crapping on everything that you do from that point. And then that stress is now going to be in your life of all these negative comments.
And that's what
it's not sustainable.
I kind of changed because of that as well. So I hit a threshold where, especially on Instagram, where I felt like my followers, I don't care about not that I don't care about my followers. I don't care about my account, right? Like you realize it doesn't really matter. And so I hit, you know, a number in my head that I wanted, which 100,000 was like when I really started growing, because I kind of took off pretty fast within about a year. So I hit that number. And after that, over the last, 4 months, I was just contemplating. I was like, man, I really want to change and start to pivot. But my name, Mullen Woodworks, locked me in. I felt like it locked me in. And so I was like, okay, I got to figure out how to change, because I love barbecue, which we haven't talked about in 3 episodes. I'm really ashamed about it.
I know we're running kind of long, but I definitely do want to talk about it a little bit, because I know we've already talked about it.
Okay.
We're
It can be a long episode. Yeah, we don't care.
Great.
We don't care.
Awesome.
We have like 10 listeners at this point. This far in, there's not very
Brian's
many.
got a 12-pack of beer behind me. We're here for the long run.
I see him back
We'll
there
close
just
this thing out with some
scrolling through
barbecue
his
talk,
phone.
because I'm all about it.
But like I wanted to do some more barbecue stuff, and then I ended up renovating a whole trailer this year, which really wasn't woodworking at all. Like it was sort of. But anyway, I felt like it boxed me in. So I wanted to be able to branch out to new people and actually do things that I enjoyed, which was barbecue, which was woodworking, DIY, and other stuff. And that's why I ended up switching my name to Mullen the Maker, because I felt like it fit what I did more. Because whether I'm making barbecue or building something, like it encompassed more. But it was that transition to saying, okay, I'm not just going to do woodworking, because it's not the only thing I want to do. That's just not, I just like doing things that I like. I just enjoy doing more things than just that. And so that's one thing that, I got to that point. I was like, okay, I need to branch out. I need to stop cornering myself,
Well, the other reality to that too is, and I try to tell people this in the beginning, everybody has this idea of like they want to have a very specific name because everyone's starting out as a business. They're not starting out because of social media.
Yeah.
Like think back, like you started out because you were probably trying to build stuff for other people.
Yeah.
So you want to have a name that's very direct towards that. Look at all these big accounts. None of them are like pigeonholed. They're either their name or whatever else. Well, why does that happen? It happens because people start to go down this social media path. And when they go down that social media path and they start to grow an audience, it actually opens up a lot of other doors to a lot of other opportunities. Like Traeger. And I'm not trying to like target anything, Jesse, on your half, but good. The Toja Grid stuff, if you're doing home renovation, maybe you can get a company to help support with granite countertops or something like that, right? Granite countertops is not woodworking. However, what leads up to the granite countertop is woodworking. But it does get to that point where it's like, okay, I want to start dabbling in other things because I have these other opportunities, which is why you see this shift from all these other people. Right before this podcast started, I changed my YouTube channel name. So it's now Jason Bentz Woodworking and More. And I had Bentz Woodworking, and then I had Bentz Woodworking and More on another YouTube channel. Well, I shut that one down because I find myself doing a lot of home renovation stuff here. I could do a video showing how to install, the life-proof vinyl flooring, which I've never been given. I've bought all of it for this house. But people want to know that. What is that part of, right? So if I'm redoing my kitchen, the demolition, before you build the cabinets, what do you have to do? You got to rip everything out. Before you remodel a room, what do you got to do? You got to replace the flooring. And then you're going to do trim and baseboards. And then you're going to maybe you're going to build a built-in in the room. So it all leads up to that point. So why not cover that whole spectrum? And yes, I'm in a position where, if I don't have to spend $6,000 on flooring, and I can get a really good deal on it because of my audience size, why would I not want to do that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because what people don't understand, I'm doing my video this week, it'll come out on, I think, Thursday, is on 4 different ways that you can go about installing drawer pulls, right? Drawer hardware. I went out, from as simple as, just using measuring devices and marking your holes, then to making your own jig, then to using something like a Craig jig, and then, your more expensive options like a true position jig, right? Well, I had a Craig jig hardware thing before, and I got rid of it because I got the true position. I went out and bought the Craig one simply for this video. So I went out and spent $30 just for this video, and when I'm done, I'll give it to somebody. And what that people just don't understand that is that a lot of these videos, like, you're paying for that stuff. So not only are you paying for the thing, so if I can produce free content for people, but I can get help to do it, why would I not do that? Why can people not understand that? So, I want to start branching out and doing a lot of stuff, for the home, and being able to show that. And the biggest reason I want to show that is because of my ability to explain things in a way that people can understand. And by not just having woodworking, woodworking and more. Well, what is more? Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Mullen the Maker, right?
How much do you think that name actually matters, though? Like,
I don't think it matters a lot.
Right. Because I was talking to a guy who does consulting and stuff like that, just somebody I know, and I said something real similar to that. Like, I've changed my name 3 times. These guys make fun of me all the time about it, but
all the time.
The serial name changer.
Well, we're about to that time where he's going to change it again.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I can't now. I got too many shirts and hats stocked up. But
like, get on that Teespring.
Right. I said something about that. Like I really would like to just start doing more things, because like you can only build so many things and make videos on, so many projects before you start getting like burnt out of it. and then you want to take like a little bit of a break, do something different before you come back. And he's like, it doesn't matter what your name is. He goes, how many people are probably woodworkers that want to watch people do welding or want to watch people build, he's like, installing trim in your house is still technically woodworking, it just gets stuck in your brain. I think when you have woodworking or Woodworks or Woodshop in your name, that you think people are only going to want to watch those things, when that's just simply not true.
Well, again, this is all self-imposed, because in my mind, right, I'm thinking people are going to go, and people have said it, but not that much, this isn't woodworking.
Right.
Well, why should I care what that if you don't like it, leave, right? Yeah, all I'm going to say, though, is that now I'm Bent's Woodworking and More. We have Mullen the Maker. We have Penalty Box Workshop.
Woodshop.
Is it Woodshop or Workshop?
It's Woodshop.
Oh, I thought it was Workshop.
You ruined his point. Come on, Jesse. You
changing everything tomorrow.
Gosh,
but there could be a lot of things happening in a wood shop. You're Walker's Woodworks. You're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
I think the biggest reason too is for me is reaching out for sponsors, right? So when I'm in current talks with a company for starting to get into welding, right, to start doing that end, and I changed my name about a week before I started really talking to this company. And just from my talks with them and meetings that I've had with them, I know for a fact that it did help me that I changed my name, because they didn't feel like they were going to a strictly woodworking site. And that's, and I'm not talking about audience, because I think audience is different. I think both you guys' points, your audience, that if they're connected to you, if you're doing woodworking and whatever, and they're into woodworking, but then you get into welding, they're going to watch that anyway, because they're attached to more than just your project, but to you as a person. When it comes to sponsors, I think it's a little different. I think if you pigeonhole yourself too much, you're going to cut yourself off to potential sponsorships, whether it's completely off the side, like whether it's, I don't know, like if I start doing stuff with my truck for some reason, which I don't plan to, but if I start doing stuff with my truck and I want to get some sponsors for that, if I'm Mullen Woodworks, it's going to be like, if I reached out to that company, they're going to be like, why would we do anything with you? So that's why mostly I changed my name for that too, is just reaching out to the new sponsors. Hopefully I get down the road. Now let's take that into barbecue talk. Now, Jesse, what did you make this week for barbecue?
I made nothing.
Really? You didn't smoke anything?
No, I didn't start up the grill at all.
I'm a little sad.
I've been busy. Well, this is the reason. The reason why is because bow season opened up this week.
Did you go hunting?
Yeah, I've been.
You're one of those guys. You are one of those guys.
Yes. So I've been in the woods bow hunting.
I knew it.
The last couple of days, and I plan on being there until I leave to go on vacation on Wednesday. So I hadn't fired up the smoker because I've been in the woods bow hunting. But that goes to what we were talking about. Is it took forever for me to start posting about cooking barbecue and stuff. I mean, I've been woodworking for 8 years, but I've been cooking good barbecue since Jesse Mullen was in elementary school.
Probably diapers. Let's be honest here. You are almost 60.
So, it took me a while to actually start posting about barbecue. But when I did, I realized that actually a lot of people that are in my following, they do enjoy it. I get more DMs and questions and comments and stuff about barbecue than really I do about woodworking, and I get a ton of woodworking stuff.
Same here.
But
I don't know. The same.
At some point, I'm never going to change my name. I think I'm always going to leave it, Penalty Box Woodshop. But I do a lot of, and really I do a lot of really cool shit not to post it and not to put it out there and to show people who I really am and what I really do. So I'm just not going to worry about it anymore.
You're usually doing that kind of stuff in stories, though, right?
Yes. The stories are like my everything, and the feed is kind of the woodworking.
And the stories that I see nothing wrong with that, because I talk about things that have nothing to do with woodworking in my stories. Why? Yeah. Because that's my closest audience.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Those are the people that want to know every little thing about me. Those are the people that want to see what I did that day. So that's right. I do have a question. Did Traeger exist in World War II? Or
I think I'm younger than you.
How old are you?
I'm 38.
No, you're older than me.
Am I? Golly.
Yeah.
I'm 36. You were born in what, 82?
Yeah.
82, yeah. I was 84.
You're still
I
old
thought
as
you were
shit,
like
Jesse.
39. I thought you were right there with me.
I know, it's because I look really old. Thanks for reminding me.
Oh, you don't look as old as me. I've got the old gray beard.
That's fine. But no, I didn't cook any barbecue either. Actually, I don't. Well, no, I didn't. I don't think I did any this week. We had my son's birthday party yesterday, so we did. We had like 40 people over, which is a lot of people, and we did like a Toy Story party, and then we played in that outdoor theater, Toy Story 4. So all the kids sat in the grass or whatever, and most of the parents, like all the dads were under the porch just like drinking beer and talking, and all the kids were watching the movie in the movie theater. So that was cool. But I didn't do any freaking barbecue either. But didn't you send us something, Brandon, barbecue wise this week, or was that last week?
I just got done watching it. Some of it actually. There's like a new Netflix show called like American Barbecue Showdown, I think, or something like that.
Yeah,
so it's
someone
like
recommended it.
Yeah, it was Bill, I think, right? Bill?
I don't know.
Yeah, pretty sure it's Bill. But yeah, it's pretty good. It's like a kind of like a Chopped situation show. So they like compete, and it starts out with so many people. It's actually that guy Rutledge. He was on another cooking show, and also the American version of Top Gear, which is a weird transition. But he's one of like the hosts, and then there's like a couple of other But we watched like 3 episodes. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
And he grilled some hot dogs.
Yeah, no. I ran out of gas, so I can't grill anything right now.
I did not grill anything.
Why are we talking about this?
I know. It was a very disappointing barbecue series.
Well, wait, no. Because I want to get your guys' input on something. Actually, I take that back. I did grill. I had my team over on Tuesday, and I made burgers and brats. No big deal on my Weber propane. Pretty badass.
Fancy.
But I did eat the best wings I've ever had in my entire life. There's a place here in Indianapolis called Ale Emporium. And they have the best. I don't even want to talk about it because it's just going to make me mad that I'm not eating those wings right now. They are so good. But I want to ask you guys, Jesse, we've already talked about it.
Yep.
About the Traeger stuff. And other Jesse, I know that you love Traeger. Mm-hmm. So I'm up in the air right now between Traeger and Rectech. And I want you guys to try to sell me on Traeger.
Well, I am torn between those two and Green Mountain Grills. So let's hear everybody's.
I've never heard of Rectech before.
Yeah, Nate has one. That creative grain guy. He has one.
I've heard they're pretty good. Yeah. Go ahead, Jesse.
So I'll say this about the Traeger. And I got my Traeger for free from Traeger. They sent it to me.
Which one do you have?
I have the 870.
No, you have 780.
780. Sorry, my dyslexia kicked in. 780.
It's okay. His neighbor's there for backup.
I have the 078. It's a really small grill.
But I absolutely love it. Now, I started out with a homemade smoker. I have a 55-gallon drum that I welded a basket and stuff for the center of, and I used Weber grates. And I cooked on the ugly drum smoker for 8 years until I got that thing. So getting something that is as easy to use as the Traeger it's game changing. Like it is really, really nice. Like it plays into both. So I always refuse to use gas. So I had my Weber kettle out there, and then I had my smoker. My wife always wanted to be like, she's like, I want to grill, frozen hamburgers or something tonight. I'm like, I am not going out there and firing up my charcoal grill to grill frozen hamburgers tonight. But with the Traeger, you can do just about anything you want to do on it. I mean, it is very, very versatile. It fires up in 10 minutes. You can cook frozen burgers to anything, to a turkey or a brisket for a 14, 16-hour smoke, which is amazing. The temperature can get up to 500 on mine, and you can do some pretty good searing on it. I'm not going to say you can do amazing searing on it, but you can do pretty good. Now, the way I combat that is I always keep a cast iron skillet on my smoker. I'll crank that thing up to 500. I'll let that thing get rocket hot, and I use that for searing, and it works awesome. It's indirect heating, so I'm talking about grilling, and Siri keeps coming up.
You say searing. You keep saying searing
on my computer. Yeah. So it's indirect, so you never have to worry about flame ups. So when you're cooking for mass people and you're cooking hamburgers and stuff where it has a lot of grease, you're not going to get the flame up burned burgers that you do on gas grills and stuff. You're not going to have to worry about it. It all runs out into the bucket on the outside. I will say this, coming from a homemade smoker where I could add as much smoke as I wanted to, I wish that I could put more smoke through the Traeger, because I like, when I'm cooking for me personally, I like a stronger smoke taste. Now, it really works well for the masses because my wife, my mom, people like that, they don't like a ton of smoke. They like just a little bit. So they really enjoy it. But for me, when I'm cooking like some whole chickens, I got some spatchcock chickens on there or something like that, I want to add a ton of smoke to it. And I wish I could do more without just having to cook it at 180 degrees for a longer period of time. So that's the only downfall that I have to it. Other than that, it is really the most versatile grilling station / smoker that I've ever had. And I do highly recommend it.
That was gonna be one of my questions, is like, what if I do get a grill like that? Should I keep the gas one for quick, like hot dogs and stuff?
You won't need it.
Okay.
No, I've done the hot dogs on the grill. It's fine. My biggest complaint, right, is that you can't have direct heat because it's only indirect heat, right? So like the Yoder smoker, and I don't know if you've looked into the Yoder smokers, but that's one I've looked into as well. Because my dad's super into barbecue, and so he's debating whether he wants to get a Traeger or a Yoder. The cool thing about the Yoder is there's a section that you can actually pull off and then have direct heat. So you can sear directly on, so you can smoke it and then crank it and then just move it over to where you can actually do direct heat as well. So you can change it up. I wish Traeger had something like that. That's the only thing. Other than that, it's absolutely amazing. I know the customer service, I had a probe that wasn't working correctly, and they sent me a new one within 2 days. Like, they're just awesome. So
see, that's actually the biggest complaint that I found on the research I've done is the customer service.
Then maybe it's because I've worked with them. But this one, I didn't actually contact my guy. I actually just contacted the customer service, and I got a freaking new probe within 2 days. And that was Go ahead.
How much better do you think the Timberline is than the 780?
I don't know. I don't know what would be the difference besides the fact it's a little bigger, right? And the hopper's bigger, which is nice. The hopper being bigger is really nice. I've never had an issue with one cook if I make sure it's topped off on mine, making sure it's fine. Actually, the other day, I forgot to turn off my smoker, right? So I had it going all night, apparently, right? And I was like, in the morning, I went to go feed the dogs, and I walked outside, and I think I cooked steak, so it wasn't on a super high temp, which I'm happy because that means the pellets fed a lot slower, right? Well, I'm like, this smells like freaking hickory hardwood out here. And so I was like, I look over and the little light's on my Traeger, and I was like, oh crap. And I like walk over there, and it still says it's running at 225, still hot as can be. And I like open up the hopper, completely empty, except for right where you can see where the hopper or the auger is. It barely had some left, so that means it drained the entire thing and for the last bit, which is good because you don't want the auger to go out, because then you have to reset everything and re-clean it and all that crap. But I was super close. But other than that, I've loved it. I've done freaking turkeys, everything on it. I've baked banana bread on it. It's fantastic.
Yeah. I've done breakfast casseroles on mine. I did
cast iron.
Yeah. I did a brisket for a while back. I did it overnight at 225 degrees, and I want to say I ran it 12 or 14 hours, and I never put pellets in it. I filled it all the way to the top. It ran all the way through the night. I never had to wake up one time. I set the alarms on my Wi-Fi thing on it or whatever, and it doesn't get any easier. I mean, people traditional like stick burner like meat smokers, they get mad at the whole pellet thing. Like they get upset. It's the whole.
They feel like it's cheating.
Yeah, they feel like it's cheating, and I'm like, it's
yeah.
not cheating. It's working smarter. Like I work smart, not hard. Sometimes I
that's
enjoy that.
That's like
it's
some
the Festool of barbecue.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
I was gonna say it's the same thing. It's like
sold.
hand tools versus power tools in certain situations. Yeah.
What
well,
about
so I was
those,
looking at it because I was originally thinking about getting like a Kamado style. But when I started researching like how much work it is to use one of those things, I'm like, nope, that's not me. Pellet smoker seems like a great thing. And then I did a bunch of research and I kept finding like Camp Chef.
Yeah. So their headquarters is like 5 minutes from my house.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They were like top ranked in almost every search that I did.
The reason is because they're a lot cheaper, so that you can hit a mass quality, right? So so I have a buddy that has a Camp Chef, and he's seen my Traeger, and from what he's told me from his screen, because I've never actually I see him all the time, but I've never cooked on one. The metal's thinner, like it's not. You can feel like the difference between the style that Traeger uses versus Camp Chef. They work well, but you can tell that the quality is just a little bit lower than where Traeger's at, right? And I think the Timberland ones, you even get better, thicker metal than even ours. It keeps going up, so the quality is a lot better. And so Camp Chef's nice, and I've heard a lot of people like them, but it's because of how the cheaper quality, you're going to get a lot better reviews because a lot more mass quantity of people are using them, and their expectation. If you're buying a smoker and you really barbecue a lot, and you're like, I'm getting into this, and you're using it all the time, I feel like the Traeger's more of the way to go. If you're just doing it because you're like, yeah, I just want burgers, and you buy a Camp Chef, the Camp Chef's going to be amazing for you. But if you're using it 2-3 times a week, like I usually do, I would recommend the Traeger.
I think I'm sold.
I'll say you sucked me in here. Jesse got the free Traeger, which initially opened my eyes to pellet grills. And I did all the research because I didn't get the free Traeger. So I wanted to make sure I was getting the best. And I just nerded out and I dove in deep. And ultimately what I found is I think the best parallel is like Android to Apple. The Traeger has a whole ecosystem. They have the pellets, they have the seasonings, they have the technology, and it works really smooth and really seamless. If you're an Apple guy, you want the Traeger. Like it's just
Done. I'm
perfect
sold.
parallel. If you're an Android guy
it.
and you want to mess with everything and you have to control everything and you just have to dissect it and break it apart, Traeger may not be for you, but if you're into the ecosystem, you're gonna love it.
Well, that's the other thing too, because you made a good point about the pellets and all that. They're so easily accessible because you can go to any Home Depot and stock up on their pellets and all their other extra parts and all that stuff. So,
also, if you really get into it too, look at getting like a quarter of a beef or somewhere where you can actually get straight from the farm. This sounds ridiculous, but dude, so I have a quarter of a beef that I think we've talked about it last couple episodes. I don't know. I mean, I just recently got a quarter of a beef, grass-fed, Utah-raised beef. I got it, I think, a couple weeks ago. And so that cow was killed 10 to 15 days before that. So it's super fresh. Dude, it's the best meat I've ever had. And the quality compared to buying from a store is insane. Like it's the fat, the marbling on it, the color. You're like, oh, this isn't even. So what I was eating before wasn't even meat. Like, what were they doing to that? Because it's not even close. And so it's cheaper too. It's legitimately a lot cheaper when you actually calculate it. It's just a big lump sum right at the front, basically.
I think I'm gonna have to do it. I was gonna wait until because it's starting to get like chillier here. Yeah, but I think I'm gonna do it.
If you get one with the Wi-Fi on it, it doesn't matter how chilly it is. You just start the thing up, go out there, put it on it, go back inside.
You also, you also can just throw a big old wool blanket on top, and it keeps the heat in more.
Yeah,
you're fine.
I used to use that on my big.
They actually sell the
my
covers.
Smoker.
Yeah, they sell like covers, like actually that's made to insulate the Traegers, but you could just throw a big old wool blanket. Just make sure I threw what I thought was a wool blanket. Well, I was like, okay, let's get this blanket on there. And I wasn't really paying attention. I threw one of those Harbor Freight moving blankets on it. Oh shit. Don't do that.
What's all that smoke?
Like polyester in it.
So what happened was nothing happened like dangerous wise, but like when I went to rip it off or take off, like it like, cause it's like half plastic in the inside or something, but like it basically on the back end where it gets really hot in the smoker, it like stuck to it. So I had to take it off and scrub it off. It was a pain in the ass. And I was like, oh, well, never doing that again. That's cool. But
yeah, I think I'm going to do it then.
Cool.
It's worth it.
Jason, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it, man.
It was fun.
To tell everybody where they can follow you, so that way they can come follow you if they don't already. I'm sure they do. He's got 1 million subscribers on YouTube.
They could just go to my website, bentswoodworking.com. It's got everything there.
Awesome. Okay, thanks for coming on, dude. And
Thank
for
you
the
for
long
having me.
podcast, we like it. That was fun.
I'm totally okay with it.
I'm going to
tomorrow.
Change my
I will
name.
listen to it.
Changing my name to Ann Moore right now.
Yeah, you should.
Just add and more. Walker's Woodworks and more. That's not going to screw up Jesse.
Start a trend.
All right. Go build something.